We're going live. Hey, we're back, and it's Wednesday at 2 p.m., so it's time for cannabis legalization news. My name's Tom. If you need me, you can Google cannabis lawyer and then click over to my website, Cannabis Industry Lawyer, where we just added a new search bar on the home screen. So now you can ask the questions that you have directly into the website. And over in the West Coast, the North Coast of the West Coast, is Miggy.
Hey, woke up.
How was your week, man?
It's good. Yeah,
Where do
lots
you
of.
want to start?
Yeah, where to start? Let's talk about the FDA.
Start with the FDA. I'm going to go ahead and put this page 174 on. Hopefully everybody can see 174 right there that's watching on YouTube. Sorry, Facebook. So what's this one about, man?
So this is Crazy Reefer Madness testimony that was at the FDA. You go to page 1. It's the scientific data and information about products containing cannabis and cannabis-derived compounds.
Right.
The hearing on May 31st. So here we got some crazy chick. Her name's Pamela McCool, who's not even American. She's Canadian. And she spreads this like reefer crazy madness about how CBD and it's hurting her community as far as the legalization in Canada has done so far.
Is that this page 174, 175 of the report that was released from the May 31st testimony?
Yeah, it starts in that area, talking about in 20 years of research of human cells, I've never found any other drug, including heroin, which comes close to DNA damage. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy. But she said it. And then that's the thing. That when they did the legalization in Illinois on the floor of the Illinois legislature, they did the egg in the frying pan. This is your brain on drugs. You think the lies are going to stop? They aren't. But you know what is going to stop? Well, actually, thanks for joining us on legalization news. But stick around, because in a few minutes, Jim Brees from Green Growth CPAs. Check out their YouTube channel. It's really awesome. Green Growth CPAs. You'll learn a lot about what you need to know to get into and navigate the cannabis industry. He's going to be coming on to give us some tax law updates for your cannabis business. But fortunately, it is no longer, or it's getting closer to not being, probable cause for smell.
Yeah.
In the state of Florida, police to stop detaining for cannabis odor. That is awesome, because that means that, one, hemp, of course, and then two, the medical cannabis space means that because there's like 200,000 medical patients in Florida, as opposed to like the 75,000 that we have here in Illinois. It just means that the smell of cannabis does not mean that a crime is occurring.
Florida implementing this rule. I mean, first off, it's the most un-Florida thing ever to ever happen out of Florida.
I would agree. That's the most. It seems like a reasonable change of law. It's totally out of Florida's wheelhouse.
I'm just like, what's going on with our world when Mitch McConnell makes sense about hemp and Florida legalizes or makes it easier for smell? What the
dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But that's great news.
It was great news. And the other one that I really liked this week, and this just came out yesterday, and that was the Judiciary Committee bill to end federal marijuana prohibition. This is the MORE Act, the Marijuana Opportunity and Reinvestment and Expungement Act, kind of somewhat modeled off of Illinois. It deschedules cannabis out of the Controlled Substances Act, but it also goes further by meaning that the IRC 280E, which we're going to be discussing with Jim Brees from Green Growth CPAs here real shortly, that's going to be out the window as well. And then they're going to do a modest 5% trust fund. You see, that's what it is right there.
Oh, wow.
It's the it's the federal government knowing that there's tax dollars out there to be had, and why are the states going to be the only ones that have the tax dollars? But it's sponsored by presidential candidate Kamala. No,
yeah.
Harris? How do you pronounce Harris's first name?
Kamala, I think it is.
Kamala Harris. All right. Well, Kamala Harris is sponsoring that one. And of course, Barbara Lee and also Cory Booker. Well, no, that's the Marijuana Justice Act. It's actually quite similar to the Marijuana Justice Act. But these types of laws, and that was the thing that came out of the feds. Like, I guess the budget, the fiscal cliff isn't going to happen this year, and they actually have a budget, which means has marijuana defunding been expanded beyond medical marijuana for the Department of Justice into all marijuana? That should be somewhere buried into that budget that got passed. But I haven't checked it because I've been, working.
But we should be able to review it now.
I don't know. I saw that there was news out of Washington about some type of budget deal being reached. But what exactly that budget deal that has been reached, I'm not sure. And that would be advantageous for the people running for election next year if they are fine on the budget this year and they aren't going to make it a political football. But does that mean that what have they done regarding defunding the war on marijuana?
Right, kind of like back when they defunded the medical side and said,
Right.
these rights type shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, for me, the biggest story of the week actually had to do with Tegrity weed. I'm not sure if you saw the Tegrity weed going around. Here's one of the marijuana moment. They're kind of poking fun of the that was a MedMen ad, right? That was a MedMen ad?
It was a MedMen play.
Right. And then it was the Spike Jones MedMen. And so, like, they're making fun of Canadians for not having any integrity. And it seems like this Tegrity play is to be they say all the profits are going to go to support the social equity aspects of the cannabis legalization and ending the drug war, which makes me think, like, is South Park getting into the cannabis game?
They've always been really good with that humor. And that Tegrity episode was pretty damn epic.
Oh yeah, like Randy had that hat, and we would put it on. It was the Spin Doctors, like, a song would come on. It was made out of hemp and stuff.
Well, and then the whole craft cannabis thing. How we go from this world where everybody's an outlaw, a hippie, probably didn't shower for a month because whatever.
Yeah, but they can grow some good ass weed. I remember those hippies in college. They always had the shit.
Closer to the earth and shit, man. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of play on that, and then it goes like how like the corporate takeover and people buying because you have this really excellent product. Do you remember when Tally came out to do the testing?
Callie came out to do the testing. What testing is that, man?
Oh, have you seen the episode? The whole episode, Tally, the character Tally.
Tally, yeah.
Yeah. He comes out. He's the official tester, and all he does is just take big rips.
That's right. And he'd be like testing it, and he'd be like, "That's some good shit. That's some good shit." And then he's like, "Let's test that Tegrity weed." And like he was in the corner.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, if bananas wore suspenders or something, just like totally doubled over, like really, really high. And so I thought that was one of the best news stories of the week. And then there is this one out of the FDA. The FDA just slapped Curaleaf with a warning letter for their CBD products. And this is always one of those nice lessons of what you're supposed to put on your marketing materials, because if you go too far, you're going to get a warning letter from the USDA. And Curaleaf, which is a big player, just got one. I mean, this is, the guy's out of Massachusetts. And so the FDA, disposable vape pens, they usually go through and they will also like provide here you go. And then somebody like hit me up today on my website asking if I wanted this type of content for it, and it was just, they're just they write material, and they write material that's really, really highly keyword focused so that you have good SEO on it. And then CBD is like, everybody's spending money on SEO for CBD right now. So the Curaleaf probably bought those things, but it's, can CBD oil be used to treat or used for ADHD? And then, they talk about specific diseases and specific results. And you're really not supposed to talk about specific diseases or specific results. I mean, that's one of the reasons why when you have a lot of those CBD oil pages and packages for the actual oils and pills or isolates themselves, it's a very abstract, just kind of like, oh, you will feel better, and nothing more than that, really.
Yeah, that's the same reason with the vitamin market, right? I mean, if you can't,
very similar. Like, they have that little disclaimer. I wonder if I have any vitamins around here where it says the FDA makes absolutely no recommendations based on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same shit. That's what we talked about the very first week of legalization of hemp.
Right. And that's kind of what this is. But like a lot of that, it's not just Curaleaf. I mean, like Revolution in Illinois and GTI, they also have hemp divisions. I mean, it is the full cannabis plant, but at the same time, you figure that a multi-state operator like Curaleaf would have had, Rod Kite's firm look at their materials to make sure that they're not going over the line. But instead, I'm assuming this traffic that they got from this web pages that they bought, that was written by not necessarily bots, but people that specialize in SEO optimized language, they maybe shouldn't have put that on their website.
But if it was on the website, but it was on, say, a blog promoting their product, that'd be a different issue, right?
Sure, because then the blog's not their official website. You see, because it's on their actual pipes, it's on their, curaleaf.com/CBD treats ADHD, something like that would just be a huge red flag. Do not do it. And
Yeah.
so when I got that stuff today, and I'm not going to share my emails, but when I got it today from somebody who filled out my form on my website, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want. I want to get a letter from the FDA telling me that I should not be hawking my CBD wares so well. But I also am not hawking CBD wares. I'm a lawyer.
Well, the rule of thumb for these guys should be, testimonies are okay, but you can't self-promote as far as like what it does.
Right.
I mean, if you
Right.
get
But that's the thing. It's the specific claims about specific illnesses. And so what was it? It was a specific illness, ADHD, and it was specific claims how people who are on cannabis are starting to perform better because they are using their CBD tinctures or treatments. And these are no-nos. Do not do that unless you really want the FDA to be like, hey, buddy, knock that off.
Hey, in good news, we got a free prisoner on July 26th. Calvin Robinson was released from prison after 31 years for pot.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Woo. 31 years for pot. Was it like Tuna? You remember Tuna, the guy that Johnny Green likes. The Florida prisoner used to have the square. It wasn't square tuna. What was it called? Square grouper. You know how they would smuggle the pot back in the 80s.
Yeah, same shit. I mean, and he served, I think, 20 some odd years. All these guys are getting old and dying almost.
Yeah, and then meanwhile they're introducing the MORE Act in Congress, probably mostly for political grandstanding, because that's not going to get voted on this year. It's just going to go, and it's going to be one of those positions that they can say on the presidential campaign. It's like, I introduced the MORE Act, or I introduced the MJ Act, or whatever, and they support it more, and their form of marijuana legalization is better than their form of marijuana legalizations, and Joe Biden's is terrible.
But what's more heinous, like we got these bills that are halfway not getting through, or the fact that we have legal states, recreationally legal, with still people sitting behind bars or presently just being messed with.
Yeah, I mean the DEA had like a very active year last year in Colorado, where it's a legal state.
Well, we talked about that sugar leaf case where they bought extra ounces.
Was the sugar leaf case where they bought the extra ounces and mixed it in with hemp?
No, that's the one where remember we talked to the lawyer last week and she talked about the case where she repped because they were only limited to sell so many ounces a day.
Oh, the Lupin case. Was that the Lupin case?
Yeah. Yeah, Colorado.
Cool. Yeah, well, there's a lot of weird, absolutely crazy laws that you have to put up with when you are dealing in the cannabis space, from the cash to the IRC 280 double tax. And I know that Jim Brees will be on here momentarily to start discussing green growth CPAs and how they go about helping cannabis companies not only stay compliant, but good accountants actually help companies save money or allocate money more effectively, which is important.
They're kind of like the watchdogs of the dollar bill.
They can be, and then they find out like what's going on with the the laws during the time of how the taxes, because the tax code changes. Like IRC 280E didn't exist until the 1980s.
Okay, and then so how is it easier to create these things than it is to take them away? Like 280E.
It's always easy to create. That's one of the reasons why everybody is always up in arms if there's ever any type of new government benefit that's provided, because as soon as the government benefit is provided, it's never really taken away.
Yeah. And politics sometimes is just disheartening.
I know, right? Like, because Congress is there. They can pass a 280F that says, hey, 280E, forget about it. Not for marijuana, because like currently it just says Schedule 1 substance. They could just say Schedule 1 substance except cannabis, but they don't say that.
But isn't the problem though just to unify Congress on one freaking thing? Like to say this benefits Americans and overall, whether it be partisan, there's got to be some sort of angle for everybody, right?
That's one of the reasons why it was kind of impressive that Illinois passed the cannabis legalization legislatively, because when it's passed legislatively like that, you have all these beaks that need to be wet. And everybody's trying to look out for themselves, and then you have to gain that consensus. Unlike with when you put it onto a ballot initiative, like you do in California or in Washington State or Colorado, where the will of the people have more of a binary yes/no vote. You just can't do that in most of the states. The ones that remain, Illinois was really the first one to do it legislatively. So I just don't think that Congress is going to act so fast as like all these MORE acts and Marijuana Justice Acts and the States Act, even the Safe Banking Act. Haven't heard of that. Hey, Jim, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, thrilled. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, Green Growth CPAs. We are a full service compliance firm where we, work with financial compliance, tax compliance, helping everybody do all the really tough things that are the ongoing business pains of being in the cannabis industry. Located in Southern California for our main headquarters, but have, arms and reach in 12 different states throughout the country. So, wherever there's legal cannabis, medical or recreational is where our company is at right now.
Now, like CPAs, you're qualified nationwide, right?
Yeah, it's a national designation, and then we have, so a national designation to be a CPA. I'm not specifically a CPA, but pretty much everybody's on our team is a CPA, but I've been in corporate finance and brand marketing for 5 years, entrepreneur myself, raised capital, exited. So it's kind of like the collision of all the best worlds because there's a lot of startup here, a lot of capital that needs to be raised, but a lot of content that we also have to make too to educate. There's a big, steep education learning curve because this is all very new. We're going from prohibition to, pretty much a lightning drive, a green rush. So that's kind of where we fall into.
And it's a very complicated industry as well. So, I mean, it's moving fast, but it's complex. A lot of people, when they get into it, do you think that they have an oversimplification of what actually goes into a cannabis business?
100%. I think that people oversimplify. They think it's just like opening up a spot in your house, but for going from your house to actual business location. But there's so many steps in between. Like it's running a real business. It's like 10 a.m. to midnight every day. You have a chief operating officer and HR. You got to hire people, fire people, buy product, test it, make sure it's good. Make sure your accounting is done properly. You miss a few receipts, it could untie your entire business, especially when you go through an audit.
And you guys help with those types of audit plannings, but what type of, because it sounds complex to me because you have to deal all in cash. How do you approach trying to, put into place the operating procedures and the policies and the record keeping for keeping track of all cash?
Yeah, I mean, theft and diversion are the two biggest things that people can peel off money in your business. So creating solid standard operating procedures is a must in your cannabis business and making sure that people are actually following that, doing spot checks. It is an all cash business. There is access to some banking. There's DAMA banking. There's also, as well as, state credit unions that will take money. And some of the other bigger banks will take money, but it's a big risk to their other portfolio. $26 million in cannabis money is nothing to the trillions of dollars that these other companies have. So it's really about creating good standard operating procedures and fund flow management, checking in every day where your money is going, because you have to put money away for bills. You can't just come up with, 300 grand in tax dollars right away. So, lots of safes. It's kind of like the movies in a certain manner where, you have to have, safes hidden where only you and your lawyer know where they're at. Drop safes so no one can access the things inside there. But until we get the Safe Banking Act passed, or in California, they've got another bill out here where California will allow access to banks, you're pretty much dealing in all cash. And we're not talking hundreds. We're talking like 5s, 1s, 20s, 50s. So it's
a lot. Space.
What?
5s, 1s, 100s. I mean,
it's a lot of money.
One thing if you're dealing in racks,
yeah,
$100 bills, 10,000, but you're not. You're dealing in like regular people money. So how have you helped some of your clients ever try to get a bank account, or if they're kicked out of their bank, find a new bank?
Yeah, I mean, we help clients get get banking access all the time. We can get you merchant accounts where you can take credit cards, because some bills cannot be paid in cash. Like some taxes have to be paid via card. So you can either pay yourself as your personal account or pay out of your business account. Yeah, it's possible to get access to banks. You just need to know the right people. That's the thing, is it's kind of in this gray space right now where some people are willing to dip their toes in and play and be a little more close to the risk. But yeah, we help people get banks. We suggest you have multiple bank accounts, because once the bank sees you're putting a lot of cash in, they will, reach out and say, hey, we're closing your bank account, and you still have to pay bills that month. So there's a lot of different little tactics on how we do the banking and get you access to digital payments.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that's mostly in California you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, we've got California, we've got Oklahoma. Again, we're in 12 states, but we can get you access to, any kind of bank, pretty much anywhere you need. But again, it's a how would you say? it's a very sensitive process to do that because not everybody wants to know and share like, hey, we're ABC Bank and we're taking cannabis clients. So it's a very personal relationship market. The thing when you get into the cannabis market is not just like you can start by yourself. You have to build a team of a lawyer, of a CPA, of an operations person. You have to have a master grower if you're doing these grow operations, or a master, manufacturer. These people are in very high demand. They're like they're like the programmers of 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That kind of encompasses your company itself, right? I mean, you have a lawyer team as well as your CPA team and whatnot.
Yeah, things that we do, and as well, we have partners throughout the country that we trust, we vet, we meet with clients as well as partners all the time to make sure that we're building a good team for our clients. It's not just we are a one-stop shop. We don't do just taxes, and we need to make sure that you're getting introduced to the right people, because if you get introduced to the wrong lawyer, you could untie your entire business. As Thomas is talking about going through the licensing process, if they've never written an application before, I probably wouldn't trust them with your time. It'd be better to pay a premium for someone who's been through this process. Like, we're a cannabis only firm. We don't have any clients that do anything else but cannabis, and that's something you have to look for when you're working in this industry.
It can be kind of difficult when you're when a new state's coming online. And so when I'm meeting with people, I always do explain to them, it's a team sport. I've been saying that for a bit, but then it's difficult to find people on your bench because it's been illicit. And then there's only so many licenses that are available, and they try to preference the residents of the actual state as well. And that really kind of kept a lot of people out of Colorado for a long time.
Yep.
But now that it's opening up, and it becomes difficult. Like, a lot of businesses, they try to avoid costs as much as they can and keep those costs low. And I've heard that it's going to be about like an 8 to a 10 to 1 ratio of applications to licenses in the state of Illinois. And like half of those people may get a lawyer, which is ridiculous, that if you think you're going to be able to skate through this process, unless there was some political, who knows, because it is Illinois, but it's not, Illinois is corrupt, but like other states are corrupt too. So it really is putting that team together, and especially those types of operators who have that skill. So as you put that whole application together, you have this guy and you have that guy and you have that guy, and here's what your board. So you're going to have continuity and people that understand that they're trying to prevent the top two things: the diversion of the product or the cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim, along the lines of the digital, are you involved in any crypto with that?
I mean, we have some clients that are trying to take the crypto. I'm a big advocate for crypto. I think that's the way of the next 10 to 15 years. Like, that's one of the next big ways of, putting the power back into the people's hands. But most people are still dealing in cash because their clients are not paying in crypto. If you buy Bitcoin, you're pretty much not selling Bitcoin right now. It's still, it's above, all-time highs right now, but also they want to come in, they want to get their cannabis after work and get the hell home, There's some more sophisticated shops in the LA area that are taking these kind of digital payments, but I don't say that it's probably like less than 1% of the market. Most people are still dealing in cash.
Right on.
Hey man, when you're like doing your business statements or your business plans for your clients, and also drafting up their pro formas based on their area and what type of customer they can expect, what's the difference between like a customer that might be more in like a Peoria, Illinois, which doesn't have like a lot of tourism, or on a border, versus the customers who might be on a border city or like a tourist city like Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have so you have to look at the lifestyle of a potential user. Most people, Nancy Reagan did a great job scaring the crap out of most people over the age of, 40 years old, but those are the ones with the most disposable income. Now that it's become legalized, people are now becoming newbies. So you're seeing that they have that disposable income and they're willing to try and test all the different things. They're really leaning into the bud tenders or the people that operate inside the store to tell them what they want to buy or what they need or what's good for them. Right? We're not just selling a drug here. You're selling medicine to these people. So you have to be cognizant of what you're asking, the questions you're asking of these users. So I would say the more female clients are looking for something fast, quick, and easy that has very little odor, whereas your male patients are looking for something more where they can break down their own flower, buy their glass, experiment, have the good times with that. I would say that, they're similar to a certain extent, but you're going to see a lot more newbies come in where you have to really lean into education, and you're going to have to take a lot more time, right? You have two levers in a business: the number of transactions and average transaction. You're going to spend a lot more time per transaction in these farther out states, like in a Peoria, where they're not well educated about cannabis, and they see a lot of headlines and they know that there's anxiety and stress about it. So I guess what I would say in your beginning of your first 6 months is really lean into the education before a user gets into the actual, bud area. Is there any kind of posters you can put out into the waiting area, or flyers you can give out holding education sessions around this, so they can actually buy in bulk at that point of the education session? Because it's got to be bigger than just a dispensary. It's not a very novel idea to sell cannabis in a dispensary. You have to find other ways to bring people in a community. And I think education is one of those things people need to lean into.
Do you guys offer any sort of packet for the for your customers who are like, hey, I want to start a dispensary tomorrow. You got me hooked up with the investor. We got the shop. Oh shit, I don't know how to educate people. Do you have anything like that?
We don't have any specific programs around that. There's something that I actually do talk to our clients about on, these are the 6 or 7 aspects, and there's a deck that I have that I go over with them about what you should really consider talking to your patients about, because sometimes these patients don't know what they don't know, so they don't know to ask that there's a difference between an indica plant versus a sativa plant, and that it has these different effects, or that if you take it through, an edible, it's going to take 2.5 hours to hit you. So make sure you don't take too much, because you'll be on the floor. You may end up in the hospital. We all have that story, either of ourselves or people that we've heard of that.
And those are the stories that get the press, because the stories of man gets mildly high, has wonderful time watching stupid comedy. Those don't get the news stories as much as person thinks they're going to die, goes to the hospital because they ate too many edibles.
Yeah, there's that. The education is always right, sensationalism. They're trying to sell ad dollars at the news network, so we can't blame them for that. But you'll see that with every case, whether it's taking the product or even selling the business. You always hear about the $8 million cannabis business that sold away, or it sold at a 25x multiple. That's not the real life. We have to really ground ourselves in good, reasonable facts that most people are not going to crush it. The excellent opportunities are really at the beginning, but at the tail end it matures, and you're going to have we're going from 200 dispensaries in LA to 400 in the next 24 months in LA proper. What do you think it's going to do to business values? What do you think it's going to do to the everything? So it's it's going to drive down all that. It's just a race to the bottom in price. So again, it's why I say you have to do something more than just sell cannabis. Become a community center. Do yoga in the morning or in the evening. You have to find a way, or open a cafe. There's got to be other avenues of revenue here.
Oh, sure. Now I'm looking at your website. It says start your business, investor ready business plan. Does that mean you guys also help bring investors to somebody who has an idea for you guys?
Yeah, if you guys have a great idea outside of just being a basic cannabis business, or if you have a nice brand that already has some leverage, we have a network of investors we can connect you to, everything from top to bottom. Lawyers that we have in your respective state. If not, we'll find one. Like when New Jersey opened, that was a thing I had to spend a lot of time in researching who we need to do biz dev with. And that next marching orders for the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks is reaching out to every one of these lawyers in New Jersey, seeing who we can actually trust to send clients to. So yeah, we can do anything pretty much you need, from also developing your idea and your brand. So we have branding experts as well that we can introduce you to, and develop that idea a little bit further than just selling cannabis.
Do you think that branding is more important for the retail side or the cultivation side?
I think brand and great operations are the only thing you can lean into. Again, it's a race to the bottom. It's a commodity. Like you buy oil, right? You buy gas, but sometimes people avoid going to Arco, or they avoid going to BP, and they like Shell gas. If you look at the way digital technology is going, people are going to be buying the cannabis on Ease or on one of these digital platforms. You don't want them to say, hey, buy me cannabis. You want to say, buy me ABC cannabis, right? Alexa, Google Home. And you got to think about, in 15 years, what does cannabis look like? If you're getting a license now, you're not going to operate for 2 years. You're going to operate in perpetuity, or you'll sell this brand in perpetuity. And that's what's going to be one of the bigger intrinsic values on your balance sheet, is your brand. And I would say try to avoid something like 420 Bud Bros and things like that. You're looking for Procter & Gamble hasn't created their own brand since 1960. They buy brands, but they're one of the biggest companies on the planet. So position yourself to be bought by one of these big brands later if you want a bigger exit.
Right on. Well, when you vet your lawyers, because each state has different set of rules. What are you looking at when you're vetting? Like here in Seattle, I can tell you 3 cannabis law firms just right downtown.
Yeah.
And I think they all kind of do the same shit, but none of it's law. None of it's criminal cannabis law firms.
Yeah, I mean, someone has to be understanding of the community. First, you have to have someone that's based out of that community. Can't everybody be transplants into the community? Because when you go to do one of these applications, they're going to ask you, what's your community benefits plan? Which means you have to know what did the community actually benefit, like our values, so you can get a better application, a more strong application. Second from that is, let's see your track record. How many applications have you been a part of? If you've never built an application, we can't send work over to you because we're not going to be your test case. So those are the two main things we look at. Is do you have a sense of what the actual local like sport of or how you call it, city council is looking for when they're going for these applications? Because again, they want this to fit in just like next to the yoga studio. They don't want it to be like this big green building where everyone is like, oh, weed is right there. It's got to fit in just like a CVS or just like, you know, a falafel shop. It's got to be that smooth of a transition. And then granted, there's going to be some incongruencies to the branding, the messaging coordinated with the current market and the current community, but you have to kind of tie those things together. And yeah, I mean, rates as well. You know, people are trying to come out here and do, you know, we call it the, you know, the marijuana multiplier or the marijuana markup. You know, I know what your rates are because I'll call and I'll ask about a different project. And if you're putting me at 5x the rates, I know it doesn't take that 5 times the time or 5 times the effort to do it. So are you being fair to our clients as well? We're not just going to send you over to do bad things to the client. So those are the 3 main things we look at.
Who do you think's doing it right down in California?
As law firm wise?
Oh, as branding. Sorry.
Branding. I mean, you know, one of the biggest brands out here is the MedMen because they're buying every piece of property, visible property that you can. You got that, you know, see in California, you've got Harborside. They did a lot of good digital content. I think they had a Netflix documentary. The thing that cannabis brands can't do right now is they can't buy digital media on the 3 major platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those platforms. Sometimes ads will get through, but you know, it's going to take a very creative way to get in there. So influencer marketing is a big thing. You'll see a lot of these manufacturing brands, Dosist, and you know, the names are escaping me, but they're doing a good job buying billboards in the main drags. Like Melrose is where all the popular kids are at. And those are the kids that set the trends, make the Instagram pictures. So buying billboards it seems ridiculous right now for most advertisers, but for cannabis brands, that's about the only big piece of, you know, marketing you can do right now.
Is this all because of the federal criminal laws? So if they were trying to buy these ads online, it would be, I don't know, money laundering or something?
Well, just like they don't allow you to, the terms of service for most ad platforms, except for Mantis, which is a marijuana only ad network, is that they won't allow you to advertise anything that's illegal or a Schedule I substance, right? So that's why we're in the whole 280E thing. Even if they, you know, decriminalize cannabis, they're still not going to reschedule it. Okay, that's a big difference, and the 2 different things to that, and that's why you're still getting, you know, high tax rates. Is because it's a Schedule I drug, and that's why most people are staying away from it. You know, even though we want to give our money as a brand to Facebook, they won't take it. They're not going to risk that business because there's, like, you know, these bigger brands that are giving them a lot more of their income. Why risk all their 99% of their income for the 1% of the cannabis? Granted, we could make them good money, but they're making great money elsewhere.
Well, it's funny you say about the non-advertising on Facebook because I've seen like a moment where all cannabis people get canceled or denied, whatever. But then I've seen where Groupon is especially for a hitbox, and they put that shit. I mean, I think it's just about the bottom dollar. Is all it comes down to, you know, when it comes to shit like that.
It's the bottom dollar. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying. The next question would be like CBD ads. Somebody asked about CBD ads.
Yeah, I mean, CBD ads, you get that out there. Like you can even get CBD at Bed Bath & Beyond. I actually kept the circular. It's like I want to show my kids this. Like it happened in like May 2019. That's like Bed Bath & Beyond started selling CBD. What you'll see with CBD, I think it's been rescheduled or it's been decriminalized, the Farm Bill. There's a little bit more leniency.
Schedule it. It's no longer a controlled substance.
Yeah, so you've got that. But, you know, like CBD is going to go up on, here's one man's opinion, one hot take is that CBD is going to get really hot. It's going to go up and then it's going to have a huge capitulation down to like, you know, 70% drawback in popularity. Then there'll be another popular thing. And what I think that is because you have a lot of bunk CBD manufacturers that are just trying to get their brands out there. They're not doing a high dose. They're like allowing patients or not allowing, but telling patients you don't need to take a lot. If you don't, like when you smoke cannabis, you feel the high, you know, there's a transformation and a shift. With CBD, you have to be very in tune with your body for that kind of stuff. And so I think people are going to try it. They'll spend their $100, $200 to try it. They won't see it. and then you'll get that kind of curve back. So I think the bigger brands or the better brands that will survive are ones that are pair it with already existing, supplements or spices or things that actually have a good effect, like a melatonin or an ashwagandha root that has, these proven effects, and people are already using this. So I think it'll become a more secondary, tertiary ingredient, but it's really hot right now.
Yeah,
I think you'll see the ads.
It's like that, but I mean, like this is common. Like it was the Bitcoin of 2017. Bitcoin was really, really popular, and now CBD is really, really popular. And I have no idea what's going to be really, really popular next year. But a lot of the farmers are getting on this now. There's like 18,000 acres that they say they're getting plant in Illinois this year. And so what happens in next year when the supply doubles or triples and the demand is going to pass? Because if you've done CBD supplements before, it is a very subtle, it's interesting what it does to your anxiety levels, but you have to have good CBD as opposed to junk. And then also you need to take enough, but it's I don't know if it's gonna, it's got to pop because it's a bubble and bubbles pop.
It's going to pop, but also they're like, look at the plant. The plant has a lot more than just the actual extracts. You've got the fibers that come with it. So you'll see other things in that sense. Who knows? I don't know what the legality of exporting it out, but you may see other countries that start to legalize this and then they have a way to ship it out. Who knows how it's going to really end? But I think that, if suppliers are doing a disservice to the industry if they don't give strong enough product and if they are just, putting something out just to make money fast. So that's kind of my say it again.
You got a good point about people have to be in tune with their body for CBD to notice the effect of it. It's even for me, I'm a high consumer for just flower, and I'll smoke a CBD joint, even if it's got the entourage effect, but it's predominantly CBD, and I don't get high. I just get like I can go work out or something, and I feel pretty good, flexible, a little loose. But unless you're not feeling or in tune to it, like you said, mixing it with other things that kind of like the Red Bull effect, right? Because it's all got that ginseng or whatever in it. You need something that immediately kick in. So you're like, yeah, I know it takes effect. But that's a great point though with that.
Yeah, you've really got to be in tune with your body with any kind of supplement or medication. But I think CBD is going to really fall victim to that that big wave. But we'll see how it pans out. I really hope that the suppliers do a good justice to the industry and for the user. We don't want to mislead users, but we also want to keep the industry healthy.
Yeah, and I think the mixing on that is going to be pretty interesting over the next few years. But they don't have to comply with the IRC 280E anymore, unlike the cannabis that has more than 0.3% THC. How do you go about explaining to your new cannabis clients how they need to mitigate IRC 280E? Let's just start from there in general, just a general cannabis client, because you can bisect them from there.
So if you don't know what IRC 280E is, pretty much it's like, I think, forget the case, but there was like back in the day, this drug dealer said, hey, I drive big cars and I got like dinners and lunch and I want to mark off all my expenses. And he had a low tax bill. And that's how he got in trouble. But they said, you know what? The government said, hey, we're not going to allow that anymore. Only you can mark off is your cost of goods sold. So the race now is to see how many costs can we put into cost of goods sold. So, marketing expenses, like if you buy weed mats, $5,000 a month, you still got to pay tax on that. All these different indirect costs for your business that aren't directly to cost of goods sold. So first and foremost, make sure you're paying your taxes and even overpaying your taxes. There's an account, they keep a ledger, they'll know how much you pay. If you get audited and you miss, a specific, it's self-reporting right now. So they just pretty much take you for your word. No states or cities are requiring audits. So I would say make sure you're paying your taxes the right way and making sure you're even overpaying your taxes. Because 1 in 5 cannabis businesses are getting audited with just quick hot take data out of Colorado.
It's 1 in 5? I thought the average stat for an audit, this might only be personal income, it's like less than 1%. You're saying 20% of cannabis businesses are getting audited?
They will get audited over their life cycle. It's like 1 in 20 ordinary businesses are getting audited. So be ready for an audit. Look, it's very easy to find you. In California, they have Cannabis File. All your EINs are there. They can just log in and say, hey, randomly pick this company, because they know you're doing it wrong. Like I said, you saw I sent an email yesterday. Cash crimes are the new drug crimes. The drug is legal. The biggest things now are your financial compliance and your legal compliance with any kind of thing that they have on that end. So if you don't pay your taxes, they will find you. And if your suppliers are not paying their taxes properly, they'll just go up the chain or down the chain and find you. So there's 2 very main reasons the way you can do this is, a cost segregation study, which is if you have if you have assets, we can help you accelerate the depreciation of those assets because you don't pay taxes on that. So accelerating your depreciation, it's done with an engineer that can come in. It's called a forensic engineering team with a CPA. They come in, they look at all your building and say, oh, that's been in the wall for 4 years with 5 screws. That's now part of the building. We can depreciate that faster. So that's one of the ways you can mitigate it. There's a lot of different tax strategies that have been proven over time. So that you just really working with a CPA from day one, because if you do bad record keeping and I'm not trying to plug our business, you don't have to go with us, but I really recommend you get a CPA that can help keep you a good paper trail. Because when they come in for an audit, let me just repeat this, if they find a few expenses that are not above board, they'll just disallow things going forward. And they're not going to look just at last year's. They're going to know that, hey, you probably threw a box of receipts away from 2017. Let's go after that one first. Once they find some snafus inside that 17, they'll just disallow everything going forward. So you really have to be careful.
How did the audit? So, like, that was a thing here in Washington State where when it was just medical and recreational was on the verge of becoming a law, a lot of these guys were like, okay, we're going to have to do sales tax now because we're going to pay state sales tax and we're going to pay city sales tax just to say we're paying taxes and kind of cover their asses.
Yeah.
But like on a federal level, is there a way that they pay taxes? I mean, how do they account for some product that's illegal, and how do you monetize the price of the tax that would be on that?
That's a whole conundrum of the whole thing. Is like, why am I paying tax on something that's illegal, and how do I pay this tax if I can't pay it with a bank? So there's the tax calculation for a C corp is 21%, and the thing is having an accountant back out and put the right expenses into cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is the game. So if you, again, start deducting your marketing expenses, you're going to get in big trouble with the IRS once they do an audit on you. So it's really about working with a CPA to make sure your every cost, like literally you go to 7-Eleven and you buy something for the business that's actually for a sales expense, make sure you're doing the right things and keeping a good paper trail in that sense.
This, of course, then disproportionately hits the retail side, the dispensing side, right? Because the cultivation is literally making the good, right?
Yeah, I mean, so like you have indirect costs and direct costs. And so one of the things we tell people as a dispensary is become a processor. You have much more liberty with your indirect costs as a processor. So I'm not talking about going to buy a big machine. I'm saying like, hey, roll pre-rolls or buy bulk cartridges. These are things you're probably already doing, but just get the manufacturing license, and then we can put more of your indirect costs of like your rent, your utilities, your payroll, your licensing, your insurance into cost of goods sold for your overarching entity, and now you pay significantly less taxes. Again, if you're a C corp, every $100,000 of expenses we can put into COGS, you save $21,000. Think about that every year. Now you have more money to either invest in your business, pay out to your employees, or use to crush your competition.
As a result of that, do you recommend the C corp formation for your clients?
It's different for every person's risk tolerance, like it just depends on how many personal assets you have, the entity structure that works best for that, what is the fundraising type of things you're going to be doing, because certain fundraising requires you to be a particular entity formation. So I can't give any specific guidance on that. And also I want to plug in here that like anything we're talking about here is not specific advice. It's just general, for guidance purposes only, no professional legal or tax advice. This is
yes, and I think that's more of a California prophylactic, and by prophylactic I mean he was protecting himself by saying these types of disclaimers. I haven't, no, of course, Miggy over there is just laughing, but it mostly has to do with these types of disclaimers that you're supposed to make on people that are. Do accountants have a fiduciary duty to their clients? I mean, 100%. I know it's attorney for you.
Yeah. So this is not personal or professional legal tax advice, no investment, no business advice. This is just, general guidance purposes only. Thoughts for consideration.
Discussion.
The fact that they have to have warning labels on pillows, I mean, you do have to kind of put a little disclaimer out on a lot of shit, so I get it.
Yeah. This is, protecting our business, man. This is real life.
There's always that one guy.
Yeah.
Hey, with that said, I got to take off, though. I got to get back to work.
Miggy, it was great speaking
with you.
All right,
man. Yeah, have a good one, Miggy. It was great.
Jim.
Hey, thank you very much. We look forward to meeting you in person.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. See you later, Miggy.
Hey, brother.
All right. And I just wanted to thank Jim for joining us. And if you guys need to check out his stuff, it's greengrowthcpas.com.
Yep, Green Growth CPAs. getStartedPage.com. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn. We'd just love to have you guys, come to our Get Started page. If you visit our website in the top right corner, fill it out. We'd love to chat with you about your business, see how we can help you, and help you get into this amazing industry. It's the green rush right now, and it's not going anywhere but up. So we'd love to help you out.
First wave is coming in Illinois for winter of 2019. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Cannabis Legalization News. Don't forget to subscribe. But I mean, if you made it 50 minutes into a show, I'm kind of assuming you have. Bye.